And that opens us up. Take 2 of Humans Anonymous, episode 16? A million.
Is it
My
16?
name is Landon.
I'm Amaria.
And welcome to this episode of Humans Anonymous. We appreciate you watching or listening wherever you are watching or listening. Thank you. Real quick, before we get started, I wanted to mention MWAH. We're going to be talking a lot about MWAH today. MWAH. Messages which are hopeful. We're going to talk a little bit more about kind of where we came from today. And we're going to kind of use this episode as a little bit of a refocusing episode. We're going to talk a little bit about our motivation behind doing this. And again, kind of what got all of this started back way before we were even born, back in the 80s. But before that, I do want to say, if you do like the content we're creating, if you guys like the message that we're putting out there, head to our website, www.mwah.net. That's at the bottom of your screen, www.mwah.net. We've got more content on there. We've got more information about our troop, about what we do. And if you're interested in having us come speak at a school, an event, you can also get contact information on there for that as well. That's something that we've been doing for years with the troop and we'll continue to do.
Yes.
So we thank you guys for supporting us. We really appreciate seeing the views every week, even if they're not a lot. We love the idea that people are still listening. You know, it's hard to keep this going for as long as we have. I know it doesn't probably seem like a bunch of work, but we really are passionate about this. And so to see that people continue to watch is heartwarming.
It is. It's very really nice. Very nice.
We appreciate you guys a lot. So thank you again. And yeah, check out that website, MWAH.net. Without further ado, let's kind of get into things. Let's catch up for a little bit. It's been a few weeks since we did an episode together.
Yes, it has. Yes.
We had Robbie Matson on last week. That was a good episode where he talked about his support group within his business of cryptocurrency.
Oh, yes.
And so we kind of talked a little bit about our message last week, but yeah, this week we're going to kind of dive more into it. But how have you been, Miss Amaria?
I've been good. Right now I'm pretty sore. My legs hurt. Yeah.
So you've been sticking with the
kickboxing class
training.
And now I'm actually going to be going to the gym at least 2 times a week on top of that.
Right, so picking it up. And how does that feel?
It feels good. I have lost 12 pounds.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very
and
nice.
I can feel myself getting muscular. I'm super happy about it.
She's coming for me. No, that's fun though. I know that that's something that you've really enjoyed. And it just seemed like, you know how I get with skating? Like if I don't go for a week, I'll be like, Amaria, I'm leaving today.
Yes.
To skate for an hour.
Yes,
it's
I
happening.
know.
It has
I did.
To happen. And you've kind of been the same way with that. You'll kind of maybe once or twice, I think you've gone a week without going.
Yeah.
You'll be like, Landon, make me go. I'm going.
We literally
just
had this conversation like a couple nights ago, and I was like, I feel lazy. I haven't been able to make it to a class, and I don't like it. And then I was like, remember that when I made you take me a couple weeks ago? It was because I didn't want to go, and I needed you to take me, so I couldn't leave. Yeah. So I've had some points where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then if I don't do it, I'm like, I feel lazy. Like,
and we all have weeks too where things get a little overwhelming, or like I think the one of the weeks we just got really busy.
Yeah, you know? we did have one of those.
It's good to have somebody in your corner who's, you know, also got you, you know, hey, make sure you hit that. I know that's good for you. You like to do that. So
the thing is like my trainer keeps tabs on me.
Oh yeah.
So when I went and saw her 2 days ago, she was like, where have you been? And she's like, I'm gonna make you really tired today. So I was like, oh, like we didn't even do any boxing. She just made me work out. It was so bad.
Nice.
It hurts so much.
Yep. That's how it should be though.
Yeah, but I love her. She's awesome. But I mean, other than that, we have a new niece on the way. I mean, that was just born the day after your birthday. Your birthday was Monday. She was born Tuesday. Renly is her name. She looks just like my brother. Oh. And nothing else really has been going on besides the same old, just
mom duty.
Oh yeah.
Mom duty and wife duty. packing good lunches.
Lots of coffee in between.
Real quick, so that doesn't seem like a sexist thing. We touched on this a little bit ago ourselves, but yeah, you've been trying to give me some extra hands for my weekends at work.
Okay,
I've been trying to give you, you know, a pan of lasagna I'll make before I go to work for the weekend or whatever.
But it also includes
that you've been returning the favor though of making sure that I'm eating good at work.
Well, it also includes if I leave it up to you to make your own lunch, Landon, what's going to be in there?
Cereal and corn dogs.
And candy.
Well, that's always in there.
And you eat that through a 12-hour shift. So I have had
a few bowls of cereal. Yeah.
Do you hear what you're saying?
But I still have a few. I just like cereal.
Do you know what me and the kids eat in 12 hours? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, I do that, and I eat a few more.
Oh, okay.
It's like breakfast.
Well, anyways,
lunch, dinner, breakfast.
Anyways, that's why I make your lunch. Okay. Yeah,
I have grown-up lunches now. That's true.
He does. He has at least one.
Chicken Alfredo last night. That was good. Anyway, yeah. Let's move on here. Okay. Thank you for giving us a little bit of an update.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a whole lot more going on than that. Like you said, my birthday was on Monday. Big 25. So I'm at least 25% done with living, which is hitting me a little bit. But, you know, I got a lot left. Can't make the excuse that I'm a kid anymore, though. Always be a kid.
No, you won't.
Yeah. Yeah, I will. Anyway, I don't think we've had anything new to the studio since last time you were here. We're going to have to get a new Funko Pop soon. And these guys are getting lonely up here. But yeah, no more pontificating from us. No more elaborating on nonsensicals. Let's get into the episode.
All right.
So we're going to talk about MWAH for a little bit.
Okay.
And kind of what we're going to end up talking about is what is your hope? You know, MWAH was based on this idea of putting out a message that's hopeful. And even before that, back in the 80s when everything started, they were, or Ray was mainly motivated by giving kids who wouldn't otherwise have a way out, a little bit of hope, giving them that little bit of hope or that little bit of relief from the chaos. He was a social worker in Maywood, right. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that's a rough area right in by Chicago. And so he was helping mainly in that area, helping, you know, give kids a chance,
right?
Give them some hope. And so we're going to kind of talk about what our motivation behind doing this is, what our motivation behind working with MWAH is, doing Humans Anonymous. What's our hope? My mom said something. She made a beautiful Facebook post for my birthday, which she always does. But this week or this year, she said something about how she appreciated that I took the time to do this podcast to give other people hope because I'd found hope. And so we're going to kind of talk about that today. You know, what is it that is giving us that hope? What point in our lives did we realize that we had hope? You know, what point did we realize that things could be different or that we didn't have to keep going down the same destructive path? And so I think that we all reach that point sooner or later. Sometimes it's, you know, at 10 years old realizing that, and sometimes it's at 20 something. So before we do that though, I did want to kind of touch again on like, how did we start? Now, do you know the whole story, the Ray Moffitt story?
I don't know the whole story, but
we don't have time. We don't have nearly enough time to get into the whole enchilada. But we'll tell a little bit of it. So back in the early 80s, Ray Moffitt, who had graduated from the University of Illinois, was working in Maywood as a social worker. And he was doing some investigative journaling on a person who had gotten shot, I believe, in the front of a grocery store or something, a woman. I don't remember exactly how the story goes, but basically he had put himself in a situation where he was seeing the worst of the worst, you know, in their face. You know, he was I mean, he's told me at times that he's a little nervous to get his picture taken because he's got people who are getting out of prison now that he put in prison. Because he was, like I said, he was a social worker. He's ex-military.
Right.
I believe he did special forces or special ops, something like that. So he was good at his job. He was good at what he did, and he had a passion for people. And so he helped solve a lot of these instances where people were getting murdered for no reason, basically. And that kind of put a target on his back. You know, he's told me stories about him getting shot at while he was working on the streets of Maywood. And so that was kind of his backstory. He's always been someone who tries to help people.
Right.
Even, you know, coming out of college and the military and doing what he did in social work before he even started anything with the Explosonic Rockers, which we'll talk about, or the MWAH troop. So shortly after kind of all of this stuff that had been happening that he'd been seeing involved with, he decided to start a group for at-risk youth called the Explosonic Rockers. And now there is a ton of history before even that, like that I really just glazed over. But I want to have Ray on here soon and kind of do a little interview with him so he can talk about more of his personal history. But I just kind of want to talk about the troop history for now. So that's a little bit of him. And he started this as like a group for at-risk youth called the Explosonic Rockers. And you know what they did, right?
They danced.
They danced.
Yes. Okay.
They break danced. And, you know, whatever they called it back then, pop and lock or hip hop dancing or whatever they called the style. They did that from.
Is it drop, pop it, lock it?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Drop it, pop it, lock it. And so they did that all across the country. They even did, I believe it was a tournament that they went to in Hawaii, where they flew out there. And so they always, were a traveling group just like MWAH was, but they were breakdancers. But they were all kids who were at-risk youth, kids who maybe were in foster care or that just came in and heard their, you know, loud music and rehearsal in the basement of, I believe he was rehearsing in the basement of a church at one time on cardboard. And, you know, he would get kids that would just hear the music and come in, hey, what's going on? And through that, I mean, there's people that have come out of the Explosonic Rockers that are music artists still to this day. I'm thinking of Buddy Locke, Andre Locke, excuse me, who's got a song right now on several different charts with anyway, so he's got music. People that came out of MWAH, one of them was a piano player for Prince, or a drummer, and his wife was a drummer for Prince. There's been actors who work at Hollywood still who've come out of the troop. And so he took these kids who would have probably not experienced any of those things in life if it weren't for this outlet for them to realize we can do something bigger than slinging dope. You know, we can do something bigger than following the same path that our family has followed. And so the Explosonic Rockers carried on for a while, and when I was introduced to the troop, it was the MWAH troop, and this kind of happened, I believe, late 80s, early 90s, and Ray's going to smack me in the back of the head for this one when I see him, because I don't remember exactly when the transition was, but they transitioned from a dancing group into a performing arts troupe, and so they were still doing like a dance routine at the end, but they were also doing full-on band songs, they were doing skits, they were doing improv.
I remember seeing videos of you and your siblings doing
you can
stuff
still go
in
on
schools.
YouTube and find plenty of different stuff.
Oh yeah. Baby Landon.
So they did they went from dancing to doing everything kind of across the spectrum, and that just grew and grew and grew until they were getting booked out, you know, a year, 2 years in advance, and they'd have the entire schedule set before the season started, you know, because they could only do 2 presentations a month because all of the kids that were in the group were also in school.
Right.
And so the years went on, and the troop developed and changed, but the one core thing always stayed the same, and that was that message of hope. not just giving the members a message of hope. And that's the thing that some people forget, especially back when MWAH was really big. It started to become more about, or to be talked about. It started to be talked about more like this was just a message of hope that we were giving. But we forgot for a little bit, or at least I did, that there's also a message of hope for ourselves.
Right.
You know, like it was still important for us to be getting that message of hope as well. And a lot of us really needed that message of hope. And so that was kind of the one thing that stayed the same. Obviously, after COVID, in the new era, we've changed, we've developed. We're still going to schools whenever we can. We're still doing presentations, but also, obviously, we're trying to create some presence online.
Of course, yeah.
With that message of
hope.
Right. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about. And before I kind of dig into my stuff, because I feel like I've been rambling for like 10 minutes now.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. I want to talk about your message of hope. So when you first heard about kind of what I was doing with the group and when I kind of presented this to you, what was something that you thought about or something that you still think about that kind of motivates you to be a part of this? Because we all have that thing, right, that motivates us to do things, and so I don't know if you want to share kind of some stuff that you haven't shared on here, or if you want to talk about some of your history a bit, but kind of give us that message of hope. Where does that come from for Amaria?
I mean, when you asked me that, it takes me back to the day that you asked me if I would be interested in going and speaking with you to, children, basically.
And I remember that first room we did, wasn't it in a little cafeteria basement?
Yeah, it was very tiny.
25 to 50 kids, maybe?
Yeah.
Probably less than that.
Yeah.
Probably less than 50, probably 25.
I remember when you asked me, and I know that I didn't give an answer right away. I was like, you gotta let me think about it. And when I was thinking about it, I thought about how it was like for me growing up. In the schools that I went to, they didn't have public motivational speakers come. Schools, a lot of schools don't have the money to pay for motivational speakers. We do it for free. But I sat there and thought, like, maybe this could be a good thing, because maybe if anybody would have noticed what was going on, or even not even noticed, but just told me that there is a different way to do your life other than what your family is doing, maybe I would have made smarter choices before. And so I just remember thinking about that for a while, and then coming back to you and telling you that I would love to do this. And I still love every step of it. I love going and being able to share my story of who I came from, where I came from, and how I am the person that I am today. Now, I didn't get into all of this like you did when you were a kid, still, you've been with the troop for a very long time.
Like over 10 years.
Yes. So, I mean, like for me, there's not a whole troop for us right now. Like I didn't get to meet the whole troop. I wasn't a part of the performing arts or anything. I just go and speak to youth. I don't want to call them children, because some of them are teenagers. I don't want them to be like, I'm not a child, but
kids. They're kids. We're all kids.
Okay, we go from like 5th grade to senior. There you go. What was I saying? Yeah, I didn't. I don't get to be a part of the troop, but being a part of this as an adult has really shed some light on me. The old me. Like, would I have done this when I was 17? Probably not. I did not want anybody to know what it was like for me growing up. And not because I was embarrassed, but it just wasn't something that I wanted to talk to people about. I didn't want people to look at me differently, because if I didn't want people to know that my mom was a drug addict. I even, with my sister, Jasmine, she tried to tell me before I even knew, and we fought about it for a very long time until I found out myself, you know, and there was just always things that I was very blind to that really started to come out after she died. And I just didn't want anybody to know. So for me to be able to speak about it now gives me that hope that not just for me, but for other people, that they will one day be able to share their story and not feel ashamed or felt sorry for, if that makes sense. Because I don't ever want anybody to ever feel sorry for me. I'm okay. I turned out okay. I did everything that I needed to. Just because my life growing up was not great didn't mean that my life, the life that I chose, wasn't going to be great. So I guess
so that motivation kind of stems from you don't want anybody who was in your situation to have to feel the way you did.
yes.
And that's, you know, when you kind of came into the troop and started speaking with us, that's kind of when we adopted that whole idea of, and I think that maybe me and you, or I came up with it when you came in, but the whole idea of your story is unique.
Yeah.
Everything about your story is unique, and it needs to be shared because your struggle is not unique. You know, and I know I bring it up on here a lot, but I think that that is just like, that pretty much hits the nail on the head of what you're talking about. It's you take your experience and you use that to make it better for someone else who's
Right.
gonna have to deal with that experience.
Right.
You know, and that's also what is the suckiest part about being motivated in that way, because as soon as you see somebody in your situation and try to help and it doesn't work, you feel like a failure.
Right.
You know,
and
and
it does happen that way sometimes.
It's very hard not to do that to yourself, but it's very important not
and
to
it does happen
yourself,
and it does happen. I mean, and there's not really much you can do about it. You tried. That's the best that you could have done.
Oh yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You don't need to take any of the blame for that, but it's really hard because you think, well, I was there, I've been there, I knew how that was going to end up, and I wasn't able to do anything. And so, yeah, I love that. So that kind of the idea of it's my responsibility to use my experience.
Yes,
that's my responsibility. You know.
Yeah, that's kind of the mindset that I have. I feel like, you know, I may have all this knowledge of what it could be like for others, you know, because someone could be going through the exact same thing, you know, but I feel like as somebody who has been through it, it is my responsibility to at least give them that hope that they're not in it alone, for one, and that they don't have to live the way that I did for a very long time. And
the MWAH troop showed you that?
Yes. Sorry, the MWAH troop did show me that.
I mean, like, that's kind of a funny, because you know, lost your mom at 16, and it wasn't 17, sorry. And it wasn't until you started speaking with me that you really started addressing a lot of that stuff. Yeah. You know, and I don't mean like addressing it like you were going to a counselor and stuff, but I mean like you're saying, like taking on that responsibility of, you know, I can do something with this. This doesn't just need to be something crappy that happened that, you know, quote unquote ruined my life. Right. This can be something that, you know, I use as a tool moving forward, not just to make myself better, but to try to help make other people better. Yeah. You know, and that's, I think that's a very... You have a very better way of wording things than I do. I wish that I could just like teleport my brain into yours. I talk a lot. No. Like, you just always know exactly how to word things and put them into like a sentence. So do you know where I got that from? Where? Ray Moffat. Okay, well, somebody No, for real though. Let me talk about that for a minute. Because I think that it would be my turn now, right? Yes, it's your turn. Ray Moffat taught me a lot of stuff. Ray Moffat taught me a lot of stuff, and like just little things like that. He taught me to listen to people. He taught me to be able to understand what they're saying and to say back to them what they're saying in a way that makes sense, in a way that's clear. Yes. He taught me to enunciate he would say, enunciate. You know, just little,
Mm.
yeah. But he'd tell me to enunciate. You know, I've talked about countless times on here that he was pretty much one of the only people there when I was not doing well, but he taught me a lot of stuff when I was in the troop beforehand. And he taught me a lot of stuff in that time where I wasn't doing well. Ray Moffitt has built a monster here, and not even so much in a business aspect. This idea has changed hundreds, if not thousands or hundreds of thousands of people's lives. You know, I remember going to shows and people, you know, we would do a presentation and people would be messaging me on Facebook for weeks after, telling me about how inspired they were, or about how, you know, we inspired them to check up on somebody who wasn't doing well, or we inspired them to tell somebody that they weren't doing well, or whatever the case was. He has created such a powerful idea, this message of hope. And I think ultimately that's the same as you, kind of what gave me hope in the end. And so, yeah, I mean, you know my story well. I was with the troop for a long time. And at 17, I left the troop, just doing a lot of negative things in my life, doing a lot of drugs, partying a lot, not going to school, you know, just downhill spiral. But I always felt very isolated and alone. I always felt like no one understood me. You know, even being in the troop, I felt like I was fake. I felt like I was putting on a mask. And even though I'm grateful for my time there, and I believe that I did a lot of good things there, I also hid a lot of this stuff that I was going through while I was there. You know, I put on this mask of everything's okay. And, you know, like I saw this video this past week and it was about depression. And it was like this video of these two guys going to a soccer game. And one of the guys looks real kind of just like bummed out. You know, it does like maybe 5 or 6 different takes of them coming to games and sitting down together. And one of the guys very jovial and excited and happy and patting the other guy on the back and, you know, jumping up, goal, whenever they score. And the other guy's just very, you know, solemn and just, yeah, kind of just going through. And then on the last take, only one of the men walks in.
Oh.
And it was the quiet man, the solemn man.
Yeah.
The one who had been sitting back. And it was kind of just a video about like, check on your happy friends too. You know?
Yeah.
And I felt like that a lot, you know, growing up. I felt like I really needed to put on this overwhelming mask or cover of happiness or goofiness.
Right.
To mask all of the pain that I was going through. And, you know, that's what my life was for a long time because I didn't understand what we just talked about, that my struggle wasn't unique. You know, I don't remember how many times I told my mom, well, you just don't get it. Nobody understands, you know, and just isolating myself, making myself almost purposefully feel separate from everybody else because it's much easier to isolate than like address your feelings.
I agree with that.
Me, I should say.
I mean, I 100% agree with that. Like when we met, I wasn't doing good, but nobody knew that.
Yeah.
I was literally drinking every day to not feel the overwhelming sadness that I had of losing my mom. Even though she wasn't the ideal mom, she still was my mom.
Yeah.
And as much as I hated her for the things that she had put me through, I loved and missed her so much that I decided not to show anybody the pain that I was in, nor let myself feel any of it. So trust me, I get it.
Yeah, and that becomes such a crappy, dangerous game that we play of pushing our feelings down or covering them up, because eventually that crap comes out.
Oh yeah.
Every time it does, and I keep thinking I can do it. I can just put on this hard face, or I can just crack a joke, or I can just laugh through it and everything will be okay. And repeatedly in my life, that came back to bite me in the butt. That came out in substance abuse, that came out in anger, that came out in punching holes in the wall, and bipolar on top of that, just elevated everything. And so I was not addressing the issues.
No.
I was just stuffing them down and piling them up and putting a blanket on it and saying it's not there.
Right.
And so for a long time, that's how I lived. And when I came to the realization after being sober that, there is a different way of doing things, that's kind of when I, was reintroducing myself and was being reintroduced to the troop and starting to work with them again, and just realizing like everybody is the same. Everybody is the same. We all have different struggles, but they're not unique struggles. There are people out there to help me, and I need to take advantage of that. There are people out there to help you, everybody. And you need to take advantage of that. We spend our lives trying to say, I'm different. I do things differently. Well, okay, that's fine. Be unique, but you're not unique. You might have a unique personality. You might have it, but we all struggle the same struggle. We're all going through the same thing. White, black, Asian, poor, rich. We all deal with ourselves up here. Right?
Yes.
So what is the point in saying I'm different? I struggle up here different. Get some help. Open up. Deal with it, I loved to say that I was different so I didn't have to deal with it. And now I have hope.
Exactly.
Now I don't have to shove all that down.
Like me, I wouldn't say that I said I was different at all. I was kind of just that loner person. The friends that I did have, I kept them close. But
after your mom passed, did you feel like no one understood you though?
I don't know. It was when I try to think back on losing her in the months following, it's kind of blurry to even try to remember. It was not a good time, and I wasn't awake for most of it. So just got up, went to school, came back home, slept till dinner time, came up, ate dinner, then went back downstairs, went back to sleep for the first probably 6 or 7 months. So I don't know, and I didn't try to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to. So if nobody brought it up to me, I wasn't gonna bring it up to them. It was obviously it was a very dark time. You won't ever understand until until your mom.
Oh, definitely.
And I know that,
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine.
And so I don't think anybody else could either.
And that's my point.
So
you felt like nobody could imagine what you were going through.
No.
Even and that's kind of my point here.
Okay.
Even in that situation that was so dramatic, there are people in your life at that time who had lost people to overdoses, weren't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But you didn't talk to them.
No, I didn't.
You didn't go, hey, how did you get through this?
No.
We isolate often to protect ourselves from that because I don't want to deal with it. And so yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I can't even begin to imagine. You probably wouldn't see me possibly ever again. At least 6 or 7 months in bed. Like, yeah, I can't begin to imagine, but that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that isolation, because either you don't want to deal with it, you don't think anybody understands, you don't feel like it's worth talking about, whatever it is, we isolate.
And I checked the little box, all of the above.
All of the above?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So How's today different for you? How does waking up today feel different than waking up hopeless?
Today, I can get up and say my mom's name and not cry. And I yell it. I tell her, I whisper it. I say it maybe every 5 minutes. B, get over here.
Stop coloring on the walls, B.
So, B, I need stop running from me. I'm serious. Beater bat, you better stop. It it's been it took a while to even be able to think about her without.
So would you say that the biggest difference between then and now is you can think fondly and have good memories and say her name in a positive way?
Yes.
And you couldn't before?
No. Working with a counselor is probably one of the best things that has happened for me personally, in my own opinion, to be able to work through not just the bad memories, but the good ones that are there, and to help me focus on those more than the ones that I literally just want to scream at her for.
Yeah.
So it's been a work in progress, but I'm happy with where I am right now with the grieving part of it. So
yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I got a little teared up there.
I appreciate you sharing. I know that that's still sensitive, no matter how long it's been.
It's always going to be. And I've had to come to realize that. Yeah. It's been hard. My counselor's always like, you're going to be dealing with this the rest of your life. It's never going to go away. So I've come to terms with that.
Yeah.
I have.
So I think, do you want me to answer the same question?
Yes, I would love you to.
Okay. So like, I guess my life was traumatically different when I was kind of living in that hopelessness. I mean, I was waking up, needing another pill, or, needing another line, or whatever, just waking up, wanting to kill myself. Not to try to be dramatic or anything, but when you get so far into addiction, and you are not on whatever it is that you are addicted to, life was miserable. I did not want to get out of bed. And I still put on a happy face and went and saw my siblings, and went and visited my sister in Chicago, and went to work and did the things that I needed to do. But it was miserable. And today I get to wake up and be excited about waking up. Today I get to count how many minutes exactly do I need to sleep, because I need this whole day to take advantage of it, because I love living so much now. I wanted to die for so long that I think that living now is just so much more exciting. I get to do things. I get to take my daughters to the park. I get to create stuff for other people like this. I get to go to work and make money. You know how much money I was losing in addiction? I
don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I get to go to work and make money and be excited about it.
Yes, but I do. And there's a lot of people out there who probably feel the same exact way. We just talked about it. There are a lot of people out there who feel the same exact way.
Yeah.
You waste your life for long enough, you're either going to completely waste it and end it, or you're going to turn things around. And if you ask me, even if you stay alive and addicted, that's wasting your life. So, eventually rubber's going to have to hit the road, and you either have committed to a life where you're going, and that's where I got, you were with me. That's
I was there.
I got to a point where I knew this only ends two ways. And so I had to take that message of hope that I've been hearing for years from this troop, that I had been hearing for forever from my folks, from you, from my siblings, take this message of hope, or you don't have to do this. take the bull by the horns, do the really hard thing. And now I get to wake up and be excited to wake up.
Good.
And I never thought that like that would be something that I even have to think about. I never thought that I would be in a situation of such a depression that I couldn't see myself continuing. That's insane to me. And like the fact that I finally am feeling this way just overjoys me because I have girls now.
Oh yeah.
I have little girls now that I get to share that energy and that love for life with. I get to try to give them just a little bit of that. Just take it and run with it. And eventually they're going to get to a point where they go, I don't like this crap anymore. But that's where we get to, do exactly what we're doing now and give them that message of hope that we've been receiving for years now,
Yeah.
So anything else that you want to touch on? Any questions for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a tough one. How do you feel in your sobriety right now?
Right now?
Mm-hmm. Like today?
I feel confident in my sobriety at this point.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I have stopped trying to convince myself that I can do it. I have stopped trying to convince myself that I am not an alcoholic, a drug addict, addicted. I feel comfortable in my sobriety because I know what I am and who I am. But all of that being said, every day is, and they hear it, whatever, it's cheesy. One day at a time. It's one day at a time, no matter what. I'm still faced with a choice every morning when I wake up. Am I going to stay sober today? Am I going to do the thing that I've been working on today?
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, I've been able to. I've been able to keep that streak going. But within the last week, there have been times where I seriously was like, this is tough right now. I know that I can't, but I really want to.
Yeah.
And so I don't even, like you were talking about, like recovering from the loss of your mom. I don't think that's ever going to stop. Me recovering from addiction and alcoholism, I don't think that's ever going to stop. I've heard stories of guys having 40 years of sobriety and going back out and drinking. Recovery is an everyday thing. So I'm confident, I'm at a place now where I'm able to give back and start sharing that message of hope, and I'm happy. Generally, all the time, I'm pretty happy. But yeah, every single day, you have to stay on your toes. Because as an alcoholic, as an addict, I know how quickly I can convince myself of something. And so I really have to make sure that I'm constantly on my toes because this addiction is cunning and sly, and it will sneak up on you and get you. So I would say that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. Well, I'm as your wife.
That changes.
As your wife, I'm happy where you are. It's been really good to know you as this version the last year.
The last year has been a big one for me.
Yeah. It's been a big one for me as well, as someone who has been in your corner since day one. Mm-hmm. Through it all. It's been, because I feel like I'm on my toes too. From this side, it's, it's the worrying for me, and we had this conversation. I'm always worried about you. I don't want to start a fight that's gonna, I'm like, what if I say something wrong and I hurt his feelings, or I upset him in the wrong way and he feels like the only way he can, get that feeling to pass is to have a drink. And so for me, I have to just let myself trust you and let you have that trust for yourself.
Didn't come back at first either.
No, it didn't.
No, that took a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that though. I know that I kept you on your toes for the wrong reasons for a long time. And so I'm glad that I'm keeping you on your toes for kind of, the right reason now.
Yeah, I'm like, is he going to take the garbage out or not? So, do I need to do it myself? I asked him 2 minutes ago and he hasn't got up. So
2 minutes is a long time.
it's especially when I'm cleaning.
Yeah.
I'll just take it out myself.
All right. Without any further ado, we're already deep into this episode. We've been on here for too long. So we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
You got anything for the people? You got anything for the people?
Keep watching. Please subscribe.
Keep watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go to the website again. That's www.MWAH.net. Go to our Instagram. It's HumanonPod, HumanOnPod, HumanonPod. Go check out our Instagram. We'll be throwing up some reels from this episode.
We do have a TikTok, but we don't use it very often.
My social media TikTok manager is slacking. All right, folks. Anyway, we will see you next time on the next episode of Humans Anonymous. Thank you. This is Landon Ballard, and this has been the Humans Anonymous podcast brought to you by MWAH. For more information on mental health, substance abuse, or to have me and Amaria come speak at your school, please head over to MWAH.net.